Hello, I'm old Mr. Kent, 82 years old on my morning e-trike ride. Actually, it's 20 minutes after noon because it's been really cold and it's still kind of chilly, but getting warm enough to, I think it's 55 degrees out, and so it's warm enough to get out and go for an e-trike ride. So here we are. And I don't want this to be too long, but it might end up being a little bit longer than I want it to be. But I want to have some fun, tell some stories, or a story anyway. Then I've got a 5-minute song to play at the end if we have time. So we'll see how it goes. So anyway, this morning we went to we had to go into town to pick up a prescription, some of my meds, at the local grocery store's pharmacy at the drive-through. And so we went up to the window, and my wife, they pushed out the little shelf. My wife put the credit card on it. They pushed it in. A couple of seconds later, they pushed it out, and with the prescription on it. And she took it. And by the way, she does the driving ever since a couple of years ago when I had my first TIA. We decided she'd just do the driving from then on. And she's a really good driver, so that's good. I mean, she grew up on a farm. She does a good job. So anyway, so as she was doing all that, I was looking out my window, watching all the cars coming, and I thought, what if they had never come up with credit cards? What if we didn't have credit cards? And so she would drive up to that window, and the price was, I think it was, now what was it? $9.39 or something like that. She would have taken out, let's see, $9. That would have been $5 and $4 bills, and quarter and a dime and 4 pennies. Laid them on that little tray, and the lady would have pulled it in and made sure it was right, put it in the little boxes that they go in on her cash register, and then that's how it would have gone. And then as I was sitting there looking out the window on my side, would there have been cars going around really fast moving, or would there have been cars waiting in line to get into the store because the checkout lines were so slow because they were doing the same thing? And so, but fortunately, somebody invented the credit card. In fact, they were invented back before the 1950s. But let's go back to 1965 when I graduated from college. And they were invented then, but they weren't popular at that point. And so I had graduated, and I went to work as a teacher in 1965, and as a teacher you got paid once a month, and so I took my paycheck to the bank. I had a checkbook, and so a checking account, but there was no internet, there was no cell phones. That's how it was back then. And so I always kept about $50 cash and put the rest in the bank. And then if you had to go somewhere where you bought something expensive, well, then you wrote a check. Like if you went and bought groceries or bought a large item, you pay for it with a check. But the bank charged you a dime every time you wrote a check. So like if you bought groceries, you wrote a check. But if you went to the hardware store and bought something, well, then you usually paid cash for a little item or something. Um, or if you went out for hamburgers, you paid cash. And so you didn't write checks for everything. And that's how it was. And then, like, if you went and filled up your tank of a car's tank, you know, as I remember, you usually wrote a check because it was usually, it wasn't that, you know, I mean, gasoline was only like 30, 40 cents a gallon back then. So anyway, that it went like that. And then I remember Richfield Gasoline came out with a credit card, so you could use their credit card instead of writing a check or something. And then once a month they would send you a bill to cover the payments. And they did that. Of course, the problem was you had to find a Richfield station to use their card. But then also Shell came out with a card. And so then you had two cards that you could pick from two stations. And that worked out pretty good. And then every month you paid their bill. And then, this was going through the 60s. Excuse me. And then Visa came out with a card. Well, you could use a Visa card at any filling station. and so it came along like that. Well, then also, I think we've got a bus coming behind us here. Looks like that's it. Okay, so anyway, where was I? So the stores started taking Visa cards, and that was nice because you go in and pay with Visa card. And the cool thing about a Visa card is you charge, and then at the end of the month, like if you owed like $100, you didn't have to pay it all off. You could pay $15 or something like that. And so that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty neat. We're going around a corner here. And so the Visa card came in handy. And then also, somewhere along in the 60s, they came out with a thing, what they call the Watts line. And so if you're old like me, if you made a long distance call, it cost you a lot of money. Long distance calls before cell phones came out cost you a lot of money. But they came out with what they call the Watts line, and so a company would come up with an 800 number, and then you could call them for free if they had an 800 number. So then, if you had a credit card and you had like a catalog of a company, and they had an 800 number, you could order things out of their catalog using your credit card. Using your credit card, call their 800 number. Good morning, or afternoon it is, isn't it? Yep.
How many miles a day you put on that thing?
Huh?
How many miles a day you put on that thing?
Oh, I don't know. I got 1,512 miles right now. Yep. I'm making a...
I see your circle. How many miles is that?
What's that?
I see you circle.
Oh,
How many miles?
I usually do about between 6 and 10 miles. I'm making a YouTube video right now. You're going to be on YouTube.
Am I?
Anyway, yeah. So it's for old guys like me.
And me.
You don't look old enough.
71.
71. Yep. Well, I rode a bike, an e-bike, electric bike, for a long time.
I saw you.
Yeah, and then but I started getting dizzy, and
Yeah.
so this is
You're smart.
what I do now. I got a here. We'll just take time. I can cut this out of the YouTube video. I don't have to put all this on there. But I'll give you my card if I can find it in here. Well, that was Jeff. He's a pretty nice guy. I've seen him before, but never talked to him. So let's get back to my story. There's some dog friends of mine. Maybe I should start over. I don't know. Okay, so talking about when I got my credit cards. So I could use my Visa credit card for all kinds of stuff, and I thought it was pretty cool that I didn't have to pay the bill off at the end of the month. And as we got into the 70s, I was using my credit card. What I did was I got into motorcycles in the mid 70s, I guess, maybe mid to late 70s, and got into motorcycles. And what I would do is I would, boy, a lot of dogs this morning, a lot of interruptions. So anyway, I would buy a guy would have a motorcycle for sale that was about broken down, and I'd talk him down in price, and then I would buy it, and I would fix it up and sell it, make it look new, sometimes even paint it. And if I had to buy parts, I'd buy parts, and I'd use my credit card to buy the parts. And so, I'd make it and sell it and make a good profit on it and stick the money in my pocket rather than pay off the bill. So, as time went by, my credit card bill, I guess you'd say the total kept going up and up and up, got several $100s, but I only had to pay $40 a month or something like that. Now you're beginning to figure out how Mr. Kent is so smart. And I had some friends who had, I think it was Mrkent'S, and that card, you had to pay it off at the end of the month. Now, that's really stupid. What good is that going to do? It's like the debit cards, of today. And that didn't make sense, because I wanted something you could buy stuff you wanted and then pay it off later. And then so that kept going and going, and I kept running up the bill. Well, then as time went by, it got up to be, over $1,000. I don't remember what it was. And this was up to where we were in the, I guess it would be in the 80s. And it was a couple $1,000s, and I was only paying, oh, by the way, all this time, I was running the budget. I had been always running the budget because I was told that's what the guy is supposed to do. And I did all the income tax and run the budget and everything like that. And so I was doing all that. Well, we had lived in Pasco, Washington. Then we moved to Spokane, Washington, where I was working at a computer school. And my wife was working at a retail store, and in the evening, her job was to take the money at the end of the day and take it across the parking lot and deposit in the bank across the parking lot. And that's how we paid our bill. No, I'm teasing. And so the people at the bank got to know her pretty well. And so she would do that. Well, then her retail store went belly up and closed. And the bank saw that was going on, so they invited her to come to work for them as a drive-through teller. And of course, she took the job. So that was nice because she didn't have to go looking for another job or anything, and she just went to work for them. And that was a real blessing. But when she went to work for them, it wasn't long until, I'm going to turn around here. We're going to go the other way for a while. It wasn't long until she began to realize, oh, by the way, in the meantime, we had a daughter that got married. And when the daughter gets married, the bride's parents are expected to carry the expenses for a lot of everything for the wedding. So by now, at that point in time, our credit card bill was up to $4,000. And so she goes to work for the bank, and she begins to see how things work and understand how things work, and she begins to see how people manage their money. And she says to me, "Would it be okay if I take over the finances for the family?" And I punched her in the nose and said, "No, I'm doing it." No, that's not what happened. I told her it'd probably be a good idea. And so she took over, and that blessed woman, I mean, it didn't happen overnight, but within a miracle amount of time, she had the bills all paid off, the credit card bills all paid off, and all managed well. And she's been doing that now ever since then. And it was just a blessing. She knows how to manage money. I never knew. Now, I'm not going to say that I never knew how to manage money, but as you can tell from my story, I never knew how to manage money. And so anyway, so that's my story of credit cards, and I'm glad they invented them, but it sure was something that I didn't understand at all. So, and by the way, I mean, I wouldn't have this trike, I wouldn't have that 360 camera, and I wouldn't have a lot of nice things if I was still running the budget. So, all right, so I have a song I wrote many years ago, back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, I wrote this song. I was doing a lot of poems and songs back then, and so it's a philosophical song is what it is. And so I'm gonna play it right now, and I'll just let you listen to it, and I'll just write along, and then I'll come back and we'll close up the video. So here we go.
A young boy one day talking with his father, asking questions only young boys can. This is how his father gave the answer. When the young boy asked, "What makes a man a man?" Now every man that's ever been a real man, well, he'll tell you that it didn't come with years. And though nobody sees, he'll probably tell you. From time to time, he shed a lonesome tear. Good looks and clothing, they only coat the outside. Any fool can drift through life like shifting sand. But when you've done what's right and stand to lose for trying, then you'll know what makes a man a man. Any child can lie and steal and break things. Lots of folks can run when things get rough. But a real man, he won't give up till it's over. Working harder as the going gets more tough. Shiny cars and trucks, pretty women, nice to look at. Try to find the best you can. You may own whatever this world has to offer. If the world owns you, you'll never be a man. Good looks and clothing, they only coat the outside. Any fool can drift through life like shifting sand. But when you've done what's right and stand to lose for trying, then you'll know what makes a man a man. It depends a lot on those he works and cares for, how he meets the needs of those he's fondest of. And it helps to have a woman standing by him who's learned to know the ways he shows his love. While the young boy listened as his father answered, well, it looked as if he seemed to understand. Then his father paused a moment and then continued. Son, your life will tell what kind of man I am. Good looks and clothing, they only coat the outside. Any fool can drift through life like shifting sand. But when you've done what's right and stand to lose for trying, then you'll know what makes a man a man. And when you've done what's right and stand to lose for trying, then you'll know what makes a man a man.